Now, both boys know of this. What happens though, Esau is a hunter and Jacob is a tender of sheep. One day Esau's been out for a long time and he hasn't found anything and he's hungry. He comes upon Jacob, who's cooking a bowl of soup from his flock. And he comes and he says, Jacob, can I have that soup? I'm just starving. And Jacob says, well, it's the only bowl of soup I have. And he says, well, could I please have it? He says, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me have the birthright blessing and you can have the soup. Now, Esau says, no problem, I'll take the soup. So they have a private agreement that Esau, you see, Esau doesn't think this spiritual blessing is much of anything. It's some sort of invisible thing at the time. And hunger overwhelms him and he takes the soup. Jacob sees some value in the blessing, so he's willing to put aside his hunger in order to gain the blessing. Years pass. The father, Isaac, is dying. And he's getting old. And he wants to bless his sons before he dies. So he arranges for Esau to come in and he says, now Esau, before I bless you, I want you to go out and hunt me a deer. Cook it in your special way with the special spices you always do that I love so much. And then we'll sit down and we'll eat it and I will bless you with a great blessing. Esau says, well, thank you, Father. And he goes out to hunt. Rebekah knows that Esau is not noble enough to receive the blessing. She recognizes that Jacob is really the son that should have the blessing, and apparently knows about the bowl of soup incident. Now, Isaac has gone blind in his old age. So he doesn't know by visuals who's who in the room. And apparently Esau was very hairy and Jacob was very smooth. So Rebekah kills a sheep and puts the wool, or a goat, and puts the goat on the arms. Somehow she attaches him to Jacob's arms. She gets Esau's clothes that are quite smelly and puts them on Jacob. And she fixes a sheep in the special spices she knows her husband likes, knowing he's too old to tell the difference between a venison or a sheep. And she sends Jacob in to trick his father into giving him the blessing. So he comes in the room, he says, here I am, Father, here's the special food. And the old man says, come here a minute. He says, let me touch you. And it's hairy like Esau. And then he smells him. He smells like Esau. But the voice is the voice of Jacob. But he's an old man. He figures, I'm just not hearing well. So he eats the food, and then he brings Jacob, and he blesses him. Through thy descendants, the whole earth will be blessed, etc., etc. The power and might of God will go with you, etc., etc. And then Jacob gets up and leaves the room. And just then Esau comes in. Okay, Father, here's the food. I'm ready to go. He says, what do you mean, ready to go? I just got through blessing you. He says, no, Father, I've been out hunting and cooking. And he says, I have been deceived. But he says, well, Father, just give me the blessing. He says, I can't. Once the blessing is given, it's given. I can't take it back. But I can bless you with riches and wealth. So he blesses him with material goods. Jacob doesn't get the material goods, but he gets the spiritual blessing. But this still makes Esau mad that he tricked his father. And so Rebekah says, you've got to get out of here. Your brother will kill you. Go back and see my brother and go there and stay there until it's safe to come home. So he's on his journey on the way. But while he falls asleep on the journey, he's shown a vision. And in the vision, he sees terraces going up. They call it a ladder going up to heaven. We today can understand that he saw terraces, manifestations of God that would come from his descendancy going up. He saw what we saw earlier, the 9, I'm suggesting. He saw the picture. And Jacob also, it says, has a wrestling match with the spirit. And at the end of it, the spirit says, from now on, your name is changed. You are no longer Jacob. Your name is Israel, which means the chosen. That's where the term Israel comes. Jacob is called now Israel, the chosen. And that's why that name is a name that all Israelites can be very proud of, because they're the chosen. The only thing is, there's more chosen to come in the future. We'll get into that. Now, he goes to the well as usual. And when he's at the well, he sees a young, there's some guys giving the ladies at the well a bad time. Jacob comes in, and he's a tough guy, and he disperses the bad guys, and he's a hero to the young ladies at the well. And they offer him water and everything. And one particular lady he really likes, and he asks her name. She says, my name is Rachel. And who are you? He says, I'm the daughter of Laban, i.e., this is Jacob's cousin. History's repeating itself. And he loves her dearly. She is beautiful. He comes to Laban, and he spends time there, and he's just heralded, you know, they just love to have him. And then finally he says, well, I would like to marry your daughter. And Laban says, well, that's good, except you don't have anything to offer. But I'll tell you what I'll do. If you work for me for 7 years, I'll let you marry my daughter. And he says, oh, that's good, that's a good deal. So he works for 7 years. And the night comes, the day comes, he's going to get married. And the celebration is going on, and he's drinking away and having a great time, while the bride is put in a tent, waiting for her beloved to finish his partying. And then when he's done, he will come to the tent and consummate the marriage. So he comes in, of course, he's pretty stewed by this time. It's pitch black out. He goes into the tent. He consummates the marriage, but when he wakes up the next morning, this isn't Rachel. This is her older, less attractive sister, Leah. He didn't want to marry Leah. He gets up and says, what have you done? He goes to Laban, what have you done? I want to marry Rachel. He says, yes, but we can't marry the younger daughter until we get rid of, marry off the older one. So I felt that this needed to be done. He says, oh, wait a minute, I want Rachel. He says, well, that's okay, you can have Rachel, but you've got to promise to work for me another 7 years. And then you can have Rachel now, but you have to promise you'll work for 7 years. So now he's got 2 wives, 2 sisters. Now what happens is, for the life of him, he cannot get Rachel pregnant. She just is barren. But Leah, the first night, she's pregnant. Now you can know where he wants to spend his time. He's got two wives. One's very attractive, one's not so attractive. And so he's tempted to spend all of his time with Rachel. But then he doesn't have any children. So he realizes he's going to have to spend some time with Leah if he wants children. It turns out when it's all said and done, he has 6 children by Leah. But Rachel decides that she can't have this. She's got to get control of this situation. So she takes her servant girl, whose name is Bilhah, and says, have babies with her, and she'll be my surrogate, and then I'll have some children. So Bilhah has a couple of children. Well, then Leah says, well, now wait a minute, you can't get away with that. So she has her servant girl Zilpah, and entices Jacob to come over and spend some time, and so Zilpah has a couple babies. And eventually what happens, though, is Rachel gets pregnant after all of this time. She gets pregnant, and she has a son. His name is Joseph. And he is a special child. He is particularly spiritual. He is gifted by God.